You know, some places, they're stained by the past. Their history isn't something you read in a book. It's whispered by the walls themselves. This is the story of one of those places. The true story, so absolutely terrifying that it would one day inspire the film The Conjuring.
Just for a second, imagine this. You're sound asleep, middle of the night, total darkness. And then a sound just jolts you awake. 2 sharp, loud claps. Right next to your head.
Well, for the Perron family, this wasn't just some scary thought. It wasn't a nightmare they could just wake up from. No, this was real life. It was only their second night in their new home. And believe me, it was only the beginning. It was supposed to be a peaceful new beginning, you know? A big, rambling country house for a family that was growing. But some houses, they don't want new stories written inside them. Some houses are just weighted. So picture this. It's the winter of 71. Roger and Carolyn Perron are looking for a quiet life for their 5 daughters, and they find it. Their absolute dream home, a sprawling 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. But the second they walked through that door, something felt off. The air was heavy, almost thick, and it held this deep, penetrating cold that had nothing to do with the winter that was raging outside. At first, the strange things were small, tiny, easy to dismiss, the kinds of things you try to explain away, right? But soon, those explanations started to sound pretty thin because the activity just kept growing, building into this one undeniable truth. They were not alone in that house. It started quietly with the clocks. First one, and then another, and then all of them. Every single clock in the house would just stop. And not at random times. Every single night, they would freeze at the exact same moment, 3:07 a.m. And then came the smells. This awful, rotting smell that would just appear out of nowhere and then vanish. Doors would swing open all by themselves. The girls would hear footsteps pacing up and down empty hallways. They'd hear whispers, calling their names from rooms where nobody was. And Carolyn, she started waking up with these strange, huge bruises all over her body, almost like she'd been held down while she was sleeping. The youngest daughter, April, she started talking to a new friend, an imaginary friend, she said, named Rory, a little boy who lived in the walls. Her parents just played along, like you do, until one day, April looks up at her mom, dead serious, and says that Rory told her he had died right there, in the house. But the real nature of what was in that house, that revealed itself to Carolyn one night. She was jolted awake by those 2 loud claps, and she saw it. Over in the corner of her bedroom was a figure, a dense, dark shadow shaped like a woman, dressed in gray, and its head was tilted all the way to the side, hanging at a sickening, impossible angle. After that, the attacks got more personal, much more focused. It was pretty clear this wasn't just some lost soul. This was something hateful. And to even begin to understand what they were up against, the parents had to dig into the dark history of the land itself, a history that all revolved around one name, a name that was already a dark local legend. The farmhouse itself was built way back in the 1700s, and its past was just soaked in tragedy. When they started looking into it, they found this shocking pattern of death on the property that spanned generations. 2 people had hanged themselves. There was an unsolved poisoning, multiple drownings in the creek nearby. It was like the land itself was cursed. And the dark heart of that curse, at least according to all the local stories, was a woman who lived there back in the 1800s. Her name was Bathsheba Sherman. She was accused by the town of being a Satanist, a witch who had sacrificed an infant to the devil. And the legend says that she hung herself from a tree on the property, and with her last breath, she cursed anyone who would ever dare to live on her land. And it really seemed like Bathsheba saw Carolyn, the mother, the heart of the house, as a rival, a trespasser. The spirit's rage zeroed in completely on her. Carolyn would feel cold, invisible hands pulling her hair, jabbing her with what felt like needles. She'd wake up screaming with these deep, painful scratches, almost like claw marks, raked across her skin. They were at their breaking point. So the parents called for help from the most famous paranormal investigators in the world, but inviting them in didn't get rid of the darkness. No, it provoked it.
it pushed it into a terrifying, violent showdown. So in come Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed was the grounded, methodical investigator. He arrived with his wife Lorraine, who was this incredibly gifted clairvoyant medium. So where Ed was looking for physical proof, recordings, photos, Lorraine was searching for the spiritual truth. And the second she stepped inside that house, she felt it. A malignant, inhuman presence that was just suffocating. After just one walkthrough, which left her visibly shaken, Lorraine gave her assessment to the family. This was no simple ghost. Her words confirmed their absolute worst fears. This house is not just haunted, she told them. It's infested. With the Warrens now there, the whole situation just exploded. Carolyn's personality began to twist and warp. She'd become hostile, angry. Sometimes she would speak in this low, guttural voice that was not her own. The Warrens knew exactly what was happening. Tormenting her wasn't enough anymore. Bathsheba was now trying for a full-blown possession. In a desperate move, they decided to conduct a séance. But as they started, the room plunged into an icy cold. Carolyn's chair started to shake, not just tremble. It was bucking violently. And then she was lifted up, thrown from the chair by some invisible force. Her head snapped back, and from deep inside of her, a voice that sounded ancient and completely evil began to scream. The entity, speaking right through Carolyn, it roared this single chilling threat at her terrified children. It was a promise of total destruction, a scream of pure hatred that shook everyone there to their core and proved this fight was far from over. The séance, it was a complete catastrophe. Instead of getting rid of the spirit, it felt like they just opened the door wider. It didn't cleanse the house, it unleashed the spirit's full fury. For the Perrons, the nightmare was about to get so much worse. Watching this violent horror unfold, terrified he was going to lose his wife, Roger Perron made a desperate call. He was convinced the Warrens had only made the entity angrier, so he threw them out of the house. And just like that, his family was alone again, left to face the darkness they had provoked. For 9 more years, 9 long, agonizing years, the Perron family were prisoners in their own home, trapped, enduring a torment that most of us can't even imagine. It wasn't until 1980 that they were finally able to save enough money to get out, escaping the house, but never, ever escaping the memories. The Perrons left, yes, but that house? It's still there. The land still remembers. Which all leads to this one final, very unsettling question. Did the evil ever really leave? Or is the spirit of Bathsheba just wandering those same dark halls, waiting for the next family? So, if you happen to wake up tonight and you see the clock says 3:07, and maybe you hear a sound you can't quite explain, maybe it's best to just keep your eyes shut tight. Don't go looking for what made it.
If you enjoyed this nightmare, subscribe to Mr. Half Night for more horror stories at